Last year, we got Tales of the Jedi. This year, for May the 4th, we got Tales of the Empire. I am Vactor. I'm here with Super Jedi Tim. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm great. I didn't have a line today,
I
but
don't know if there was a quote from this one that was good. Like there wasn't there wasn't a lot of quotables here, but I'm
no.
glad you're here talking with me, Tim. I know you are one of the biggest Star Wars fans that I know, so I'm always happy to have you here. Let's get right into it. Tales of the Empire. Actually, you know what? No, let's get your thoughts real quick. What do you think about Tales of the Jedi? What was your thoughts?
Tales of the Jedi was fantastic. I really liked seeing the different ages of Ahsoka throughout. Not only in the Clone Wars, we had her in the clone. We had her like as a baby, and as a is this him discovering your action figures?
My son just discovered I have I have a chair that's an exercise ball. So he just now discovered that over there.
Fun, awesome. I really liked the Ahsoka. It wasn't my favorite, but I really like seeing different ages of Ahsoka. Ahsoka as a baby, Ahsoka when she's first trained by Anakin, and also Ahsoka facing down an Inquisitor, who we saw in Tales of the Empire. Um, but my favorite was by far the Dooku story,
Mhm.
seeing his fall and what
That
led
was
to it.
fantastic. All
That
three
was
episodes of that were great.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. That's what I thought of Tales of the Jedi. I thought it was great. And I'm like,
Nice.
let's get more of this where we can have like these shorts talking about like supporting characters because the episodes are like not even a whole episode, they're like 15, maybe 20 minutes long.
So what did you think about Tales of the Empire? Let's start off with the first three episodes, the Morgan Elsbeth. I loved how the titles were fear leads to anger leads to hate, like all those things. I liked
Which was
that
very timely with
synergy.
episode one being in theaters.
Yes, which was
Yeah.
fantastic. And we'll talk about that, our experience with episode one, on a future episode of Trust in the Force. But what do you think about
And
the
my
Morgan
experience
Elsbeth?
with the Acolyte footage.
Yes, yes, we're going to talk all about that.
Tease. Um
Yes.
but yeah, I really liked those and seeing Morgan Elsbeth's like kind of journey. It was almost like the Ahsoka bits where it was like not like it's called Tales of the Empire, but her journey wasn't specifically with the Empire as a whole. It was mostly about her dealing with her trauma, which I liked, which was cool. I wasn't a fan of one, this story as much as I was the Barasafi story, just because I felt like it was too soon for
Yeah.
Morgan Elsbeth because we'd only been like when I was talking because my wife hasn't watched Ahsoka
Mm,
and like she wouldn't remember her from that one episode of The Mandalorian. She would
right.
remember Ahsoka from that episode, but not
Right.
Morgan.
Right.
Um, and talking to her about watching Tales of the Empire on May the 4th, and which we didn't end up doing. I mean, I did, but she didn't. And it's like, well, it's about this character who was in one episode of The Mandalorian and other episodes of Ahsoka. She's like, yeah, I don't care about that.
That was
and
the general sentiment when I have talked to people. They're like, I don't care about that character. And
yeah,
I think they just haven't done a whole lot of justice to her, making her a memorable character, making her
uh-huh.
someone that we want to learn more about. I you know, we got some stuff, some information about her in these three episodes. There's that one meeting she has with Thrawn, but to me, that wasn't enough to justify her and Ahsoka being so dead set on getting to that other dimension, getting to that other galaxy, bringing Thrawn back, all of that stuff. It just didn't feel like there was enough for me. I
Yeah.
wanted more, and I know I shouldn't, but I wanted more
Yes, you
from
should.
that. um, but it's cool seeing her young and seeing her martial arts skills that she has. I like that actor, and she's actually related to Bruce Lee. I don't know if you know that. So
I
she
didn't know
has
that. Wow.
like a martial arts background and connection to that. So I like that as a fan of martial arts. But I just feel like they haven't done her character enough. Like, I wish
Yeah.
she had let's say if she was in Clone Wars, like if we had a 5 season arc with her of getting to know her, getting to know her motivations and all this stuff. There's so many interesting things about her, the elements of her being like this witch, the magic side of it, wanting retribution or revenge for getting her mother wiped out, her family, her planet, like all these things. Those are all interesting to me, but I don't think in these 3 episodes we got enough to be like, "Oh, that's an interesting character," like, for your wife or for somebody who doesn't know her at all. If you just gave them these 3 episodes, I don't know if they would be, "Oh, yeah, now I can understand why she's cool. Now I understand."
Yeah, because I think with Ahsoka and Dooku with Tales of the Jedi, we knew those characters. We were interested. We hadn't like whether if you hadn't seen the Clone Wars, you know who Ahsoka is.
Right.
And I mean, you would have heard of her by now. I mean, even my mom, who does not watch hardly a lick of Star Wars, knows who Ahsoka is. Seeing all the merchandise and everything.
Yeah.
And Count Dooku, even if you hadn't seen the Clone Wars, but if you'd seen a Star Wars movie and you're like, hey, these shorts tell you how he eventually becomes a Sith,
And that's what I think
and
these shorts are perfect for, is filling
yeah,
in backstory that or for characters that we already know and we're interested in, and there's little pockets of their histories that we don't know. And I think there's an opportunity here for both Morgan Elsbeth and Barisoffy to fill in backstory, but how much did we care before going into it? So
it's true. Yeah, I
I
think
really,
maybe if Morgan Elsbeth had like if this had been released like these shorts of Morgan Elsbeth had been released after she would have theoretically appeared in season 2 of Ahsoka, then maybe it probably would have landed better.
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
would
I
have,
wonder,
yeah, because when we had that episode in the Bad Batch this season, um, with Emery, um, and had that one episode where it was focused on her, but we'd built an entire season of getting to know her, and
right?
I don't think we've spent enough time with Morgan Elsbeth because there was a lot of retconning done in this too, where because in her Mandalorian appearance she doesn't have like the Night Sisters tattoos on her face,
Hmm.
and they explained that in these like they just vanished after a while, because back then they didn't know she was going to be a Night Sister, but then she became a
Right.
Night Sister in Ahsoka. So
Right. And that it makes sense for her, but then if you think too hard about it, there's the Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, where one of the characters that we follow is also a Night Sister, but hers don't disappear. And it's like, wait a minute, why did hers stay
yeah,
and Morgan's disappear? So if you think about it too much, that part falls apart. But if you just think about Morgan, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But is it interesting? Like, is it enough information for us to be like, is she a good character? And even after these 3 episodes, I feel like I'm at the same point I was at the end of Ahsoka, where it's like, yeah, she's got some interesting parts to her, but I wouldn't buy a Morgan Elsbeth pop. I wouldn't, wear a Morgan Elsbeth shirt. She's not like a really cool character that I can dig either her action or her philosophy, like her,
right.
like, yeah, it's just, I
And I
wish there was
think I think
more. I
remember
wish there was
when I
more.
found out she was going to be in Ahsoka, I'm like, really? All right.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't
So,
really that like all the characters. Like when I heard Sabine was going to be in it, like okay, great, great, great. Everybody
well,
else, I was like excited about, but Morgan Elsbeth, I'm like, okay, all right.
I
And I don't
thought
think the series did enough for her either, like
Yeah,
you
well,
said.
what's funny is Mandalorian to me was enough to tease her to say, "Oh, who is that?" Right? And so when I heard she was gonna be in Ahsoka, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna find out who that was." And then even after all of Ahsoka, after all of Tales of the Empire, I'm still like, "Who is that? Who is this
Right.
person that, you know, what is her journey?" Like, I feel like we got these snippets, but we just didn't get the full picture. So a little disappointed in the Morgan
Yeah, you
Elsbeth
mentioned the Thrawn
episodes.
episode, like the moment with Thrawn, and I loved that episode because it was just such a love letter to all the not only Thrawn but all the characters that Timothy Zahn created in those initial novels and those Thrawn trilogy novels. Because not only did
Teleon?
we get Thrawn, We got Rook, who we saw in Rebels, which was great.
Who was also voiced by Warwick Davis, which is one of my wife's favorite actors. So I always have to bring that up.
Yes. He was also in the Phantom Menace. I noticed.
Yes.
Did she notice that as well?
Yeah, she was.
Oh, that's great.
Anytime he comes on screen, first of all, his face, because in Phantom Menace he has a character where you see his face, and then he has a character where you don't see his face. She just knows any little small person. She's like, "Oh, it's Warwick." So anytime you see that,
that's great. But also seeing Galad Pilion,
yes,
who we've seen once in The Mandalorian, has been mentioned once in Rebels. So seeing him kind of being like Thrawn's like secondhand dude was great. Like,
and that actor played him in
oh really?
it was Mandalorian, right? That we saw
yeah, it was
his
Mandalorian season 3.
yeah, that actor who is, it's actually funny, Xander Berkeley. He is, if you look him up on IMDb, he's got like 1,000 credits, and he was actually my buddy's favorite actor of all time. That's the only reason I know of him, is because my
Wow.
buddy's like, this like small character actor, he's my favorite actor of all time. And I was like, really? But he's done voices on Justice League, like he's done a ton of stuff, and now he's in Star Wars. So it was he did the voice in Tales of the Empire, and he played him in the live action. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I liked that. I liked that Morgan had created the TIE Defender.
Yes,
which
that was great. That was
I
fantastic.
really liked that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes their connection like make more sense. I liked that second episode the best of this, but that's probably because of all the Thrawn stuff. But because whenever Lars Mikkelsen is Thrawn, whether he's live action or whether he's animated, he just captivates my attention.
Seeing him in this style versus seeing him in the Rebels style, because there is a difference.
Yeah.
There's like Rebels is more rounded, kind of feels like it's for a younger audience. This one, it feels like it's like more realistic and for an older audience. So it was cool to see Thrawn in this style.
Yeah, it was really great. And Rook is the same.
Yes,
we don't
also him.
Rebels.
Yep. Yeah. So, anything else to say about the Morgan Elsbeth episodes? The Kiners, number one, the animation looks great, and the Kiners music is great. Both of those fantastic.
Yeah, just great. And I don't remember if it was just in the Barasafi episode, but but I think it was in this one too, like mentioning that the Empire was taking kids.
Oh yes, yes.
Which just coming off the Bad Batch, I was like, oh, that's nice. Like that was a nice little reference threw in there.
Yes. Okay, so now that we've gotten the answer to what happened to Barriss, I wonder, did you think that was a satisfying answer? Like what happened to her after all these years? Is that interesting to you?
It was very interesting to me. Knowing that she joined the Inquisitors was really cool. And seeing that, like, okay, I'm not really like basically because she left where we last left her, it was I'm not really that interested in the Jedi because the Jedi are being taken over. Like the Jedi are being too bureaucratic. They're basically war generals, which she was right. They were. And now it's like, okay, let me try this dark side thing. Let's try being an Inquisitor. And then going to her arc, she's like, okay, this is not for me. I don't like it. And then she becomes like a Jedi healer. I love the progression of that, of that journey. It was very satisfying for me, and this is why I kind of, if these felt more Filoni than the other ones did. Like it just felt like his fingerprints were all over this because it just seems like it seems like a Filoni story. Which is interesting. Enjoyed.
We actually talked about who wrote these episodes, and Filoni has story credits, but he doesn't have writing credits or directing credits. So it's kind of like, how much of this is Filoni and how much of it is other people? And I felt the same way about Bad Batch. You see his executive producer and you see kind of like he's overseeing it, but he's not like directly involved like he was in Clone
but it still
Wars.
Feels like his fingerprints are on it. And I didn't feel that with the Morgan Elsbeth storyline as much. Or maybe I will later when I go back to it if Morgan Elsbeth is in season 2. But this, I felt like this is a story that Dave really wanted to tell. And actually wanted to get out there.
I was watching an interview with the actor who plays Barris, and she said that Dave Filoni went up to her and said, "We still have more stories to tell with her," but he never said when. So that
Eh,
had, maybe that was 10 years ago that he told her that. But I do like the arc, like you said, each episode title, much like with the Morgan Elsbeth, it kind of just gives you what the whole episode is about in one word: devoted, realization, and then the way out, which is not one word, but you can get from a short sample what each one is
yeah,
about. And it didn't meet my expectation of what I thought Barris was up to all these years and what I thought she was going through. I did like the arc in general. Like if I put aside what I was thinking previously of what happened to Barris and the reason for her leaving, I thought she was just done with being a Jedi completely. I didn't think she was going to come back, but I do like her realization, like her understanding of that in between those things. And then to me, I thought the last episode, The Way Out, having that double meaning of getting out of being a
the
Sith or being,
cave.
yeah, going out of the cave, and I liked the things behind that, and that character that we saw from Obi-Wan, Lynn, that I I felt like her turn was a little too quick to me. I felt like she had been so about the Empire, so about being an Inquisitor, and then in that cave she just go and she was ready to kill Barris. And then when she's in that cave, okay, now I'm gonna save you. And so I just felt like that was a little too quick for me. I don't know if you had a similar, like, did you think her Lynn's arc was expressed enough in this? She's not the main character, but
No,
did you
she's
think
not. No,
her
she's not. But I think it's hard to say because this is essentially a new character, even though we've seen her, in Obi-Wan and in the video games, particularly the Jedi Survivor video games, in which um, in Jedi Fallen Order, which the Inquisitors are featured quite heavily, as I understand. Um,
Yes, yes.
and so I don't know. It's hard to say. I feel like like they're like both Barris and Lynn's arcs kind of went hand in hand because Barris recognized her from the Jedi Council, and so they already had a connection. So obviously, Lynn does wants Barris to succeed uh, above the other Jedi recruits that are brought in. Um, so I don't know. I felt like it worked overall. I don't know if she's gonna turn from. I think it was too quick for this last episode. Um, so yeah, I kind of get that, but I think seeing it in the course of these 3 episodes, I think it worked.
Okay. Lynn Rakish is her full name, and she is the fourth sister in the Imperial Inquisitorius. And the more I see about the Inquisitors, the more I'm intrigued because they were introduced in
Yes,
Rebels,
yeah.
and I didn't really like them in Rebels that much. I didn't. Now the Grand Inquisitor comes from Rebels, and I like him, but
The Grand Inquisitor is amazing. Anytime he shows up, I'm like, all right,
and
I'm
voiced
sitting
by
back.
Jason Isaacs.
Yeah.
That I love anytime I can get his performance again.
Going into this, like when I saw that was going to be the Grand Inquisitor in the trailer, I couldn't tell if it was Jason Isaacs or Rupert
Mm.
Everett from Obi-Wan. So, but when I read the press release that it was like Jason Isaacs, I'm like, okay, good. Not that I don't like Rupert Everett's performance, but there's just something about Isaac's performance as the Inquisitor that's just
Right. I mean, he
riveting.
originated the role, so it's like it
Yeah,
feels like you're coming home with him. But I was gonna say the more I see about the Inquisitors, the more I read about them in the comics and other things, the more I start to like that idea of Darth Vader. Because we grew up with there was only so many Jedi, there was only so many Sith, and we're starting to, as we get more and more of this canon, this new canon, we're starting to find out, oh, there was a lot more than we thought. And the Inquisitors was never a thing. We never thought of
yeah.
Darth Vader having his legion that he's controlling. But I'm liking what they're doing with the Inquisitors, and there's so many storytelling possibilities
Oh
that
yeah.
it brings up.
I love the Inquisitors. I like the idea of like basically like they're not really Jedi, but they're not really Sith. They're kind of like in the
Yes.
middle. And and every time we get a new one, I'm like, oh, like there's fifth brother, there's seventh sister, there's second brother, and it just like their ranks seem to grow with each project they're introduced in. And yeah, and there's an Inquisitors comic that's coming out in July that has me very excited because who doesn't love more Inquisitors? And like the origin of the Inquisitors was explored in the Darth Vader comic by Charles
Yes.
Soule,
Yes.
and so like basically he's like they're being groomed to be the replacement for Vader. And so I can't remember if they knew that or not,
That is
but yeah,
a storyline that I'm very intrigued by, and whether it's the video games, the comic books, or now
yeah,
in animation form. I like all of these things. Having the double bladed light or the spinning lightsaber, but the action scene in that last episode where Barris does she took from the Grand Inquisitor what she learned about dodging and not using a lightsaber. That was
yeah,
fantastic. I
that was
love that.
great. I really love that. Like both times with the Grand Inquisitor and like it's like yeah, I don't need to do
Yeah.
anything. I could just switch and sway
And
and
for some reason in my mind, I thought Barris still had her lightsaber, but I think rewatching it, I think she had either she got rid of it or she destroyed it, and that's why she didn't. Not obviously she didn't need it, but that was why she wasn't using it.
yeah. Yeah, it's just really cool yeah. Like I thought maybe she held on to it after all these years. Whether it be a red lightsaber or a green lightsaber like she had. Um but I really love that last episode that, where Barris is just like, I've been to the Jedi, I've been to the dark side. I don't want it to do with any of them. I just want to live my life. It reminded me very much of Bad Batch in that respect where like we're not part of the Republic, we're not part of the Empire, we're just living
Yes.
and like not having to worry about any of that. Um, and it also reminded me of Balin Skull's speech about you know about history and things. And
There's a
so
character that I would love to get
yes, I was
3
thinking that.
episodes.
I was thinking I saw something about Balin Skull the other day, and I'm like, man, I would love to see a thing about him. But who would you get to play him because you couldn't get Ray Stevenson?
Yeah, well, that's also a problem for Ahsoka season 2. Like he's
Yes,
out there. He's not dead. So
yeah,
I hope we get more either in the comics or in the novels, something with Balin Skull, because
yeah.
I just think he's really interesting.
Yeah.
So I did like the implication that Barris has been using her force heal, and that's been kind of draining her life a little bit, and that's why she looks older versus Lynn looks the same when they meet up again. I like that she's
Yeah.
been using it to heal people and to help people. Her whole philosophy is very Jedi. Like that is what she ends up being is what I think the Jedi had that path they had fallen from, everything being about being a protector and
Yes.
not being generals in an army. Like that I love that her
Which is an idea that persists in the High Republic.
ooh
Like that they're like that, up until the fall of Starlight Beacon, spoiler alert, if you haven't read the High Republic, a space station falls from the sky. Um, like prior to that, the Jedi were just helping people, helping individuals, helping healing. Like dealing with minor things, not dealing with a battle or a war on a huge scale. And I like that that Barris had discovered that and had discovered what really matters. And like, it's not about this war. It's not about the Empire. It's not about the Republic. It's just about saving these people.
yeah.
Um, uh, I used to watch the show Supernatural, and in this episode, one of the main characters says, like, I'm really tired of the bigger picture. What I really want to do is save a couple of kids. Um, and so that's what Barris wants to do here. She just wants to save some people. She just wants to be matter to somebody. And also, she mentions that she's sending these people who got their blood drawn from the Empire or what have you, And like, as my child's sick, and we know from the Bad Batch that what they're looking for is M count and midi chlorian counts, and so that was
Yes.
really cool.
That's
And
cool. And then also where that ends up, like that, she's like, I have a friend who can help you and go down that path. And it's most likely Ahsoka she's talking about.
yeah,
It's cool that they have kind of ended up in the same place. And
yeah,
I'd love to see some type of reunion with them, Barris
yeah,
and Ahsoka.
especially since in that season 5 episodes where they kind of where Barris framed Ahsoka for a bombing in the Jedi Temple. Um, to see them kind of mend fences would be very satisfying. I would,
Yeah,
and I think they have. We just haven't seen it yet.
right. So man, I'm with you. I think the Barris episodes I enjoyed more, but overall, these ones just did not live up to my expectations and the quality of Tales of the Jedi, where I loved every episode and I was like, man, I can't wait for another one. I also thought this was going to be Tales of the Sith. I thought that was going to be the follow up to Tales of the Jedi. I would still like to get that next
Yeah,
season or next year if we can get Darth Maul or Plagueis or somebody in the Sith canon. I would love to learn more because there's so much about the Sith we don't know. So give us
I
some
think the fact
Sith.
that they changed this from Tales of the Jedi to then Tales of the Empire, like I said in our trailer discussion, I think that leads to all these kinds of different stories, like Tales of the Bounty Hunters, and
Yes,
like getting
yes.
like ancillary
That would
bounty hunters. Like getting a
man, I'd
Bosk
love
story
that.
would be great. Uh, yeah. So
I would love
yeah,
that.
I think we could definitely get something like that down the line.
Yes. So there's some great stuff coming down the line with Star Wars, and there's some great stuff coming on Trust in the Force. Tim and I are going to be talking about our episode 1 experience in the theater, the 25th anniversary of Phantom Menace, as well as our Acolyte footage experience. Tim, we're going to be talking about that here
Yes.
on Trust in the Force. So there's some great stuff. After that, we are going to be reviewing the Acolyte week to week. So if you want some more
Yes.
of our stuff, our weekly reviews, definitely stay tuned. We reviewed all of season 3 of the Bad Batch, so that is here on our channel to go back and review and look at. If you like, you can check out the rest of our reviews here on Trust in the Force. We are always honored if you could join us.
Trust only in the Force.